All right, now that have a quorum and we're being recorded, I will call the meeting of the Conservation Commission from March 2nd open. And I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 16th.
I'll make the motion.
Moved and Brian seconds. All those in favor? Aye, so moved. And we have three new public hearings tonight. And the first one is 23 Progressive Ave. And do we have somebody here to present that one, John?
Peter Lyons, I would assume.
All right, then I will read it into record. Under the Wetland Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40 of Mass General Law as amended in the West Bridgewater Wetland Protection Bylaw Rules and Regulations, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing via remote meeting for a notice of intent to repair a septic system for a single-family home in the vicinity of a bordering vegetative wetland at 23 Progressive Ave. And we are open.
All righty, can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
Can you present your plan, or do you need me to do it?
Yep, if you allow me to, I can. Says the host is disabled.
Yeah, I'll get it to you just a second. There you go.
All right, can you guys see the plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right, here we go then. For the record, I'm Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering Group, representing the homeowner here for a notice of intent for a repair of an existing septic system, currently in failure. Quick overview of the site. It's a 65-foot wide by about 220-foot long deep lot. We have bordering vegetated wetland in the rear of the property, being the west as shown on the plan. The existing system currently comes out the back of the house. There's a existing gray water pit that's going to be abandoned, as well as an existing septic tank and leaching area in the backyard. We had high groundwater out here, so we are going to end up with a mounded system. It's going to be a pump system comprised of a 1,500 gallon septic tank to a 1,000 gallon pump chamber tucked into the edge of the mound. We have Board of Health approval already on this project, including a local upgrade approval allowing a 1 foot reduction of the groundwater separation. So that's going to help us out with the mounding and shedding a little less runoff off of our site. We have encompassed the entire work area with a 12-inch composting silt sock, which comes as close as 27 feet to the wetlands. We show a soil stockpile area just to the south of the proposed leaching field, and a dewatering pit location and a detail on the plan just to the north of the proposed tank locations. Couple other notes: we're providing silt sacks in the catch basins to mitigate any potential runoff from the vehicle access during construction. We have 3 conservation posts proposed along the rear of the property. And our standard wetland notes, including keeping the site clean, the contractor responsible, sweeping the end of the day. I won't go through all of those, but that's a quick overview of the project. So if anyone has questions, I'll answer them now. Thank you.
John, I'll let you go first.
I have reviewed the plan and visited the site, and the septic system immediately to the left of the site as you face it from the street, or for house number 27, is a mounded system. So this is going to be very similar to that one. So it looks like they've got everything that we need there. One question though, where are they going to access this for construction purposes?
It's looking like the driveway on the left side of the house. So between 23 and 27.
So the paved driveway.
As far as I would imagine, yes.
Okay.
Yep. It's just lawn on the other side of the house with a little bit of slope down towards the neighbor. I do recall when I was doing the survey, I did speak with the neighbor at house 19. I did not catch his name. He said if need be, he would be open to allowing access, through his property, but I don't want to speak for him to that matter. So yeah, that's a potential option, but the primary access is going to be on the left side of the house.
All right, so what we'll require, since it's a paved driveway, they have silt sacks right out in the front there, in the catch basins, but we'll probably have a condition that they need to make sure the road is swept if it's starting to track any mud out into the street. So I don't have any issue with this. I know we have an abutter, her name is Janice, and maybe she might want to ask some questions.
Well, the truth is I really don't abut the property, but I am on the street. So, no, I don't have any questions, actually. It's very similar to actually the one that we have here. And just, I got the notification, so I felt that I should check in just to make sure that there wasn't any implications as far as I'm concerned.
How high up of a mound is it going to be from the existing elevation?
Depends where you're standing. It's the backyard currently slopes about 3 or 4 feet down from the back of the deck. So it's kind of going to be more plateaued than a full out mound. So the elevation is going to carry from the existing deck. And to answer your question, we're looking at a roughly 3.5 foot elevation change in the back edge. So it's going to be the most severe around the edges in the back. And we shouldn't really be shedding any water back towards the property, which is, obviously a concern. But really just nowhere else to go with this. So as mentioned, we did get the reduction, which pulls 6 feet of grading out of the sides. So it's kind of one of those, it is what it is situations.
Okay, so you don't need a retention wall or anything at all. Can be handled with just grading off to the edges.
No, we're able to make it work.
Okay. I didn't have any other questions. Anybody else?
No.
Well, I recommend closing the public hearing and issuing a order of conditions for a septic upgrade.
All right. Hearing no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make the motion.
And Ryan seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. I will entertain a motion to issue a standard order of conditions and as well a motion to allow work within the 50 foot.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you, Peter.
All right, received. Thank you. Have a nice night.
You too.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
All right, thank you. Good night.
All right, John, I think next we have 130 Bedford Street. And do we have a presenter? Is that Brad?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Then I will read 130 Bedford Street into the record under the Wetland Protection Act of 131, Section 40 of Mass General Law as amended in the West Bridgewater Wetland Protection Bylaw Rules and Regulations. The Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing March 2nd for a notice of intent for a proposed repair of a septic system for a single-family home within the buffer zone of a bordering vegetative wetland at 130 Bedford Street. And we're open and we have a presenter.
Good evening. I'm Brad Fitzgerald from SFG Engineering, 28 Main Street in Lakeville. I'm trying to share the screen. I can't seem to find my
we go.
drawing though. Wait a minute, I might have it. Here we go. All right, you get that?
Yep, we got it.
Okay. So what we have here, it's an existing single-family house with a septic tank and leaching area in the backyard, which is in failure. We're proposing to do a septic repair, a new septic tank, new leaching area that you see here, quick 4+ chambers, 1,500-gallon monolithic septic tank. We are looking for, we were granted approval by the Board of Health for setbacks to the BVW. And that's the only one we could get. You can't get water table if you do BVW. So we are still able to run a gravity system though. So we dug our test pit right over here so we wouldn't hit the old system, establish our water table and our soil conditions. We tried to test up here in this area and it did not have sufficient material. Then you had a driveway and a water service over here. And we've got this intermittent stream which drains these catch basins down to the BVW over here. So this is really the only place we have to put this system. We do propose erosion control all the way around the work area. We propose a construction entrance here, a dewatering pit up here, some signs, posts and signs in the areas that John had recommended. And at the end of construction, they will loam and seed it, and the erosion control will stay up until that grass is taken. There's no danger of siltation into the wetlands.
Yeah, you've got a tough site there. I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
John, comments?
Brad, if I am not mistaken, this house is going to be sold.
That's the impression I had, yes.
All right. The current owner, for the commission's information, can you, I don't know if I can do it for you or let me see. No, Brad, can you expand the drawing or zoom in on the drawing where the edge of the wetlands is close to the edge of the wetlands?
In there?
Thank you.
Yep. Perfect.
So during my inspection, I discovered that the current homeowner, who may be deceased or no longer living there, or if so, planning to move out. So I don't know what the circumstances are, but they've been disposing all kinds of yard debris and other materials over the bank. And I would like to have the commission consider a special condition that during the construction of the septic system, that material be removed, taken away and disposed of properly, and let the grading go just as it's being shown on this plan. But I believe that we've got to get that material out of there. So I know it's considered natural and all that, but it's definitely impacting the wetlands that are behind it. And there's quite a bit of water back there. So that's my only comment. Everything else I'm fine with. I'd reviewed it and asked Mr. Fitzgerald to update his or revise his plan accordingly. But that's the only issue that the site inspection discovered.
So that's really actually filled into the wetland, John, not the 50 foot? Or
So
both?
the fill,
Yes,
the debris, yeah, that's right. It's probably filled in some of the wetlands, but if they just pull that back and put a natural material in there, not
Yep.
natural, but good fill material instead of debris material, I think would be improving the conditions there.
okay. I'm thinking more than likely, once they scrape it off, I mean, just a vegetative seed mix down would probably just cover it and hold it until it regenerates itself.
Right. So what will
Okay.
probably have to happen is that erosion control would have to be put right along the edge of the flagged line instead of where it is. They pull it back and then they either, like you say, the material underneath is natural and they could just put a ground cover on it.
I don't see any issue
Okay.
with that. at
Anybody
all.
else have any other questions? Okay.
No.
Any other questions, comments?
We just
Any
had a quick
butters?
All
comment.
right.
It's a butter. 134.
So we're in a butter, 134 Bedford Street. I'm Scott Bush, the homeowner, Paul Bennett's right next to me. We just wanted to confirm that the existing drainage culvert wasn't going to be affected, because if that's blocked, then it's going to flood out every house on this side of the road. So we just wanted to confirm that that it's not going to be touched.
It doesn't show any disturbance on the plan. So as long as the site work gets done properly, there should not be any effect to that drainage.
All right,
Scott,
perfect.
where are you located as you face this house from the street? Are you to the right or left?
Right.
To the right.
Okay.
So that's perfect. That's all we need to know.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody
Now-
else have any questions?
We don't have a file number on this, so we can't close it. Did you get one, Brad?
No, not as of the end of the day today.
Okay. So I'm recommending that we continue the hearing, but we don't need to necessarily have Brad is free to attend if he wants, but it's basically just going to be a formality to close the hearing, and my recommendation would be to issue a order of conditions and a waiver, and with the condition that we normally put on it, with the additional removing the debris.
Okay. And we should hopefully have that DEP number by our next meeting, so that could all be wrapped up then. Is there a closing or anything involved quickly, or is this just?
I don't know that. I was hired by Mr. Maroney's son. I like John, I don't know if the guy has passed or not. But I do know that when I was there doing a perk, that they were starting back then, that was in the fall, they were starting to clean out the house. So I don't believe he's there anymore. But I'm not 100% on that. As for closing, I don't think that there doesn't seem to be any rush on this. So waiting for your next meeting should not be a problem.
So that septic system is going back in the same spot as the other one is, right?
Yes, only it's bigger. The new one's bigger.
Is it, how high is it out of the ground? Is it?
It's not going to be out of the ground. It's actually going to be in the ground.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. We kind of get, I mean, we'll expand the grading out a little bit down here where you see this number 23, right around here. You're going to expand out a little bit. But, you know, it's really not more than 5 or 6 feet that it would be level, and then it'll grade down to the edge of the wetland or to the erosion control.
Sounds good.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to continue to the next meeting.
Don't make the motion. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank
All
you,
right.
Brad.
Thank you very much. And take care. Have a good night.
Good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have 11 Farm Road. And I will enter that into the record under the Wetland Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40 of Mass General Law as amended, and the West Bridgewater Wetland Protection Bylaw Rules and Regulations. The Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing through remote participation on June 2nd for the request of determination of applicability to determine if the construction of an in-ground pool at 11 Farm Road is subject to the Wetland Protection Act. And the public hearing is now open. And do we have somebody presenting or speaking, or?
Rebecca is here.
Rebecca,
All righty.
Rebecca from Silver Engineering. I'm just trying to share my screen
That's okay. Yep.
somehow. There we go. I keep clicking and not sharing. Oh, gosh. I'm usually,
These are all, this is up off of West Street, right up there, right? All those new
this
houses?
is off of the farm. This is Farm Road.
No, but I mean,
Yeah,
is
the
it
new
up?
one.
Oh,
It's a new subdivision.
It's the new subdivision off of
Yes.
West Street.
yes. Why can't I do this? I can't expand. Okay, this is being dumb. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm remotely connected to the work computer to try to share my screen. So if I don't click the right screen, it doesn't do anything for me. If I click here, no. Go ahead.
And they
Yes.
always take longer to do what they need to when you do that. So
Yeah. So where's the controls? Oh, so and I have two screens at the office. So now it doesn't. Okay, here we go. Share. Oh, I am sharing my screen. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Whew, sorry. All right, so this is the new subdivision off of West. I say new, but it's not really that new. If you can see the locus up in the top corner over here, you can see that we are actually in pretty far into the farm, around the circle there.
Yep.
And we are doing a request for determination because this lot has already a conservation easement in place at the 50-foot buffer and beyond, because at the back, it's actually more than the 50-foot buffer, but this lot has a conservation easement in place. So we thought a request for determination may work out. So we actually added all of our erosion control requirements. We have a dewatering pit. I have erosion and sedimentation controls all around the back side of this pool, the apron and fence. There's a very little bit of grading. We show conservation markers along the easement, not at the 50-foot, so it's actually further in. So we have about 7 signs all along the easement line. We were asked to put a driveway, no, I'm sorry, construction entrance. And we were also asked to add catch basin protection at the down gradient catch basins. So if you had any questions, let me know. I can zoom in if you need to see. Really hard to see.
okay, John, comments, questions, concerns?
So I've reviewed the plan. I've talked with Rebecca on it, or communicate, let's say. And then I did the inspection, and I have a concern. Not with the pool, not with the project. I think what they're proposing is approvable and so forth, but it's more of a question to the commission members. You will note, as Rebecca said, that there's a conservation easement along the back, which was recorded as part of the subdivision, and it has some areas that were more greater than the 50 feet away from the wetlands, and I can't recall what the reason was for it, but it was probably because we had given some other considerations elsewhere within the subdivision, and so the engineer may have wanted to compensate for something that we waived elsewhere. So I can't remember. But regardless, got recorded at the Registry of Deeds. And you'll note the squiggly little line to the far right of the drawing. That's the edge of the lawn.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
So my thought was that rather than the signs, because there were signs there when we issued the certificate of compliance for the builder, not for the current owner, but for the builder, and they're no longer there. So my thought is that we need a fence along that line with signs on the fence.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of this, and I'm either thinking the fence or I'm thinking 8-foot tall granite post sunk 4 feet in the ground, cemented in with a marker on it. I mean,
I'd put a fence. That way they can't get across. They've already gone across already.
I mean, they're gonna need the fence for the pool anyways, yeah, and they're gonna need the fence on half of it for the pool anyways, so.
There is a fence on, yes, a majority of
Yeah.
it for the pool.
Yeah.
I do believe the homeowner is on, although they are muted. I didn't know if they had a chance to say yes. I guess we will do a post and rail fence.
No,
No, you don't want a post and rail.
I mean, it's up to the commission, but I don't recommend a post and rail.
Okay,
Nope.
what do you think?
Hey guys, this is Mike Doucette. This is the owner of 11 Farm Road. I've been following along here as best I can. I guess my question would be, when you're talking about the fence, where would that be in relation to the drawing that we're looking at?
It would
The
be right
grass
along.
line is-
You have, I'm showing green pipes. I'm showing little green dots. And we would be connecting those little green dots with a fence. So from here, 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 all the way along in here. Okay. And then I would be connecting essentially where the little green dots are.
Sorry, I apologize. My screen went
No, I can
blank
do it
and
again.
it's taken a bit.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I'll
so
zoom
it's
in
not
and
loading up yet.
we can do nothing at all. Nothing's loading.
Yeah, nothing's loading. Apologies on that, but
Do you have the
sorry for
plan that I?
interrupting. I was just curious on something. Yeah, let me grab the plan because I'm curious on. So
Yep.
is the fence, guys? Just so I understand this correctly, where the property, the end of my property is where you guys want the fence, which would be in the woods right now.
No.
No,
they
it would,
Mm-mm.
it would theoretically, I'm thinking of looking at the scale and everything, it to be about from where the tree line is, the fence would be probably
25
15
feet.
feet, 30 feet on one end, and yeah, 30 feet on one end and 15 feet on the other from the tree line. Which when you bought the house, theoretically, the previous owners should have had the markers in place that said that that was a conservation area and that you weren't to go any further, and it was a protected area.
I see.
So right
So
now, it's all grass.
It's part of the lawn, yep.
So basically, right where the
yeah, so
lawn
that's
ends
what I'm
in,
thinking.
right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, so I don't know who went by there today, but we have, I mean, our lawn and then where the start of the vegetation is. Would it be fine us putting the fence? We need to fence the yard in anyways. Where the vegetation is, that line.
No, you gotta move it. You gotta move it back 30 feet from one end and then 15, like Tim said. From where the edge of the grass line is, right, Tim? Or John?
Yeah. You have a
Where those
conservation.
green marks are.
Hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. Yeah, apologies. I really wish that I'd be able to see this right now. Let me try to get the plans up myself. It's not loading on my screen right now. I'm not sure why.
So you
But,
have
I
a
mean, it is-
conservation easement on the property. Okay, so the fence would go at that easement. So where that last stake was that we put the for the concrete pad, you know, if you were out your deck and you were looking and that we staked it out for you,
Yep.
that would be essentially the parallel line to your back property. So that's where that fence, give or take, would be.
Wow.
So you would
So-
take that pool fence along the back concrete and you would kind of project it both ways, and that's kind of what we're talking about. To the left more than the right. The right could go back a little bit, but not much. So yeah, you would be
Wow.
Yep. The developer should have had those markers in place so that the lawn didn't go that far.
How long have you been in the house?
Just a year.
Uh,
So essentially, we're talking about really shortening my entire backyard by quite a bit.
That's the original lot.
Yes.
That was the intent of the original development.
Yep.
So what about all the paperwork that we signed with the, you know what I mean, when I bought the house and they told us that this was fine, and you know, I was under the impression that this is what it was, and that the conservation was more towards the woods itself, is what I was told.
Technically, the wetlands are in the woods more, but you have an easement that says conservation has this easement and they can protect this area.
Well, I looked up the deed for Mr. Doucette
Okay,
because I was curious as to why the conservation easement had been encroached upon. And it only refers to the standard language that attorneys love to use.
yep,
And I hope no one that's listening is an attorney, but they like to just say, subject to any and
a
all
conservation easement to the town of West
easements and
Bridgewater. Yep,
restrictions that pertain to this property. So I could not find the conservation easement until I went back to the farm at West Meadow LLC deed, which had the easement recorded.
why don't you just
So-
ask?
So it really starts back there with the developer, and if the Doucettes weren't the first owner, then the first owner encroached into the back with their lawn past the conservation easement. And
this
I can see why Mr. Doucette is concerned about this, because he probably thought that that's where the yard ended.
Exactly, yeah.
And
Yeah,
I don't remember, this came from, they bought it from the farm, West Meadow LLC.
Oh, they did.
I don't remember being an NOI on this property.
No, it wasn't. I believe that the design engineer for that house and the septic system showed that there was no activity
Yep.
within the 50-foot buffer, and I think you
Oh.
did a request for determination.
Even then, yeah, but there's no septic, by the way, it's just a tank
Right.
to the front.
All right, that's for, let's say, for the building plot plan. And so
Yep.
there was only a request for determination and a determination of applicability. But
Yep.
the conservation easement was already recorded at that time.
Right, but I guess I don't remember there being markers required during the subdivision approval. So when you say they weren't there, they
So
never
when
had
I-
us mark it.
So no, they probably didn't, but when I was out there doing my inspections, the builder's superintendent,
Mhm.
trying to remember his name, but anyway, he put these signs out there saying
Oh, okay.
conservation area.
Gotcha. So can we come up with some sort of compromise? It says that the conservation easement will be retained in perpetuity in its predominantly natural, scenic, forested, and open condition.
Recorded.
So about the only thing we've got is it's open.
Open, yes. How can we come to a compromise for these
Put the fence
homeowners?
up. Put the fence up.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, the way this is going with developers lately, they're gonna be
Mhm.
putting fences up all over town on any single development that gets done. Because
I've
this
seen
isn't
it.
the first time we've had
Nope.
this, and
nope, we've had it down at Pearl Road, just down
Yeah.
south from here. I know.
and the fence isn't even stopping people because they're taking trees down over the fences now and
Yep.
opening an area up. So it's not a pretty situation.
No.
So if and this is Mike Doucette again, and apologies for earlier on. I finally have the video up. I'm looking at the screen right now. So basically what you guys are saying is because the builder screwed this thing up, that we now have to essentially cut our yard in half, not in half, but obviously cut it a good amount, right? Whoever was there today could see it's a drastic change from what we purchased and what we thought we were going to have for a yard. So now what you're saying is that yard now has to come back up to that line that I'm looking at that says proposed 5-foot fence. That has to go all the way across.
That's
Well,
the
we
one-
would have never even allowed you to have the lawn in the 50-foot area. So if you look at the arc with a little indent in it, that area would have been a no touch
Yeah.
to begin with. without the easement even being there, they shouldn't have even graded it, stumped it, treated it, or touched it in the whole process of this development. That area would be protected no matter whether there was an easement or not.
And it is protected.
So let me throw this out for us, at least a talking point. Again, I don't know why the lines were created the way they were for the conservation easement, because as you can tell, it does, some of it is out, a great portion of it is outside the 50-foot no touch. So whether it was because we gave them some relief somewhere else, I don't remember, but it got recorded just as it's shown on this plan with the green, with all those green marker signs. If the commission was willing to adjust that conservation easement, that would require the current owner to and the commission to enter in a agreement to revoke, to amend the conservation easement to follow the 50-foot no-touch buffer line, which would, at its closest point to the pool, would be maybe 3 feet away from the apron of the pool, but then it would open up the rest of the yard, especially down to the bottom portion of the plan, for the owner to use all of that area. And then back up towards the upper part of the plan, there would be a small triangular type slice that they could use, but you'd still most likely want to have a fence all along that 50-foot buffer. And again, it would require the current owner to record a amended conservation easement that applied only to his lot.
Yeah, like John said, I can't remember whether the easement that they granted us was because of the isolated wetland at the beginning of the project that they were going to be disturbing or not.
Oh, yeah,
But
all that front stuff, yeah, that's right.
But I mean, as John said, that's about the best we could come up with, is to let them at least rescind the easement and have use up to the 50-foot. If we wanted to give them that area to use. Any commissioners have any thoughts on that? What they might want to?
We put this as the way it was supposed to be in the beginning. I think it should stay that way. Sorry to say. Because always something always happens when they want to put something else in, like a pool, a shed, or something, and then all of a sudden, bam, we get hit with, this could have been 2 years from now. What are we supposed to do?
And by then they could have gone all the way to the property line with lawn and.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse, so. We've been saying that we want to stick with what we've been doing. Granted, it's going to be a pain in the butt for the homeowner, but this is the stuff that when they buy the houses or the house lots or whatever, the builders should be more upfront with them, but it's not our fault because we did our job. We're protecting what we're supposed to be protecting.
Ryan, Steve, any comments, thoughts?
I mean, sorry about that, I was on mute. I totally understand
go
that, but if the builder, right, was the one that was responsible for this and did this action and they're building in West Bridgewater, shouldn't they be held responsible? I don't understand why, like, we're just like stuck with, excuse my language, but like almost like the shit end of the stick, you know what I mean? Like, we're just kind of, it's a tough position if you're up.
We're in the same position too, because we get that other end too.
And that's why we're saying if this developer does come before us again, he's going to be putting a fence in all the way along his easements or restrictions if he was to start another one or come before us with one before he even got going. Because we're seeing so many of these problems. I mean, in all
If they
honesty, buyer beware, this was a recorded with the
Mhm.
deed, and if you research the property and the title search company did their job all the way back, it would have been identified as part of the deed that there were restrictions.
Tim, if I might just chime in that
Yeah.
we probably should make every developer put up
Exactly.
a very
Yeah.
sturdy barrier between the usable yard and the conservation easement, because the signs are ignored. We have one that we're going to discuss tonight where the signs were just pulled out and piled up underneath the deck. You hope that people understand what the sign says, which is it's a wetland area or conservation easement area. But I think we need to talk about on all these new lots that something substantial goes in. Because it's unfortunate for the Doucettes that they are now finding out about this.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it gives them a bad taste dealing with the Conservation Commission that we're just trying to uphold what the agreement was we had with the original developer and the owner of the lot, that now we're the bad guys and we're just
We're
unfortunate
doing
for them
what we're
having to
supposed to
do
be
what we,
doing.
yeah.
I would say stay with the original 50-foot buffer.
And the easement that was granted, Steve?
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm okay with John's proposal. That's just my take on it. So if they would be open to it.
Well, hearing that, I think there's a majority feels we're going to leave it stand with the agreement that was set and recorded. So if that's the case, then we will require the fence to be along the easement that's there.
Any type of fence that you're desiring?
I mean, it's got to be something fairly permanent. I know those post and rail typically have to be replaced every so many years. Thinking a chain link fence, John? Something that's permanent or more permanent?
Well, the pool is going to have a fence. And so if they could have the flexibility of following the conservation easement line with a legal or standard pool fence, which is a certain requirement that's needed for safety reasons along that section, and then they could alter the rest of it to something as long as it's permanent, which would mean vinyl or some man-made
Material.
material.
Yeah. Okay. I'd go with that. All right. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Hearing none, then I.
Oh,
There's someone with.
Yep.
Yeah, this is Mike
Go ahead.
Doucette, the owner. It's so.
Yeah.
Is this something where obviously I'm looking at plot plans here right now, and I'm candidly not familiar with this stuff, right? I have no clue, like looking at this in comparison to my lawn, like what that really means. Is Silva Engineering, is that something where the stakes are lined out already out there where we would have to bring the fence to? I'm just trying to understand this, guys. Obviously, this is like news to me, kind of a bit of a shock. And like, I'm just trying to figure out what this means to me in my yard. How much am I losing? Because it's like a huge change here. So Silva Engineering, is it already marked where the fence now needs to be? Or is that something that will be marked?
When we staked out your request, we staked, I believe, the edge of concrete, and I think we did a side property line. I can't remember exactly where. You would want us to come back out and stake the location that the fence would need to be so that the fence installation goes properly. So yes, so we can help you with the construction support of that, because I believe you had support for the rest of your construction anyway. So we can stake that for you.
And I'm sure there's going to be a nice hefty charge that comes with that we now have to pay for as well.
As for the installation of the fence, that's, yes.
No. For you guys to tell us where the fence needs to be.
We would incorporate it into whenever, I believe your contract had us doing construction support with you. So we would incorporate it in so it wasn't as difficult.
So I guess the answer to my question is there an extra charge that I'll have to pay for this? I'm just like trying to get an idea of what I got to deal with.
You have a bigger problem with paying for the fence, and perhaps the Farm LLC should be the next person you talk to.
The Farm LLC?
The people you bought it from. The developer.
All right, so
we can have a conversation
I don't know what you're...
We can have a conversation tomorrow morning.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't know if what you were saying pertained to this specifically, but if not, we can chat offline.
If it helps any, I did recall seeing some stakes that were marked as conservation line, I believe it said.
Did we do the green pipes? I thought we did. Okay.
But I don't know if they're all in there, but I did see some of them, and that might give you a little bit of an idea where they go.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll try to make this as painless as possible when it comes to anything to go mark that for you.
I appreciate that.
All right. Hearing no other questions, I'm going to entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I will entertain a motion to issue a order of conditions with the requirement of the fence put in along the conservation.
This is a determination.
Yes.
-3 determination with
right.
conditions.
That's -3. Yep. Thank you, Rebecca.
All
I'll
right.
entertain a motion to issue a -3 with the conditions of the fence proposed for the line of the conservation easement.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you, Rebecca. Okay, John, we have administrative discussions next, I believe. There's a Manley Street. You want to start with the Manley Street United Drive?
Yes. So I'm going to share my
They can hear us.
something or other here. Let's see what I've got. All right, so hopefully everybody can see this on the screen. I took the discussion and some of the items that came out during our discussion at the last meeting and called them discussion items and listed them as you can see. And so I know the commission had some concern about where the existing use ends and where the rest would be protected of the buffer. And so my thought was that a visual barrier at a line that is finally agreed upon is required so that no additional encroachment would incur by a new owner. And then again, it was also contingent upon Mr. Snell donating that parcel of land right behind there, which is 7.6 more or less of usable recreation land on the river. Also, it came out that there was discussion about Mr. Snell being, or the new owner being able to keep the entranceway to the United Drive and Manley Street intersection clean and clear of vegetation, which it's mostly looks like lawn right at the moment. There was discussion about storage areas of landscaping materials and the equipment draining into the wetlands. So I'm suggesting an approved stormwater management system that would be required for the contractor's yard, and that the storage of chemicals such as fertilizers, insecticides, herbicides have to be within a building with some containment that would drain to a tight tank if there was a liquid spill, or there would have to be materials there to sweep up and contain solids that might accumulate on the floor through broken bags or containers, and so that they don't get into the wetlands. And then finally, snow removal operations must include storage areas which drain to the stormwater management system and not into the wetlands. And by no means is this the only things, but if the commission has some other things that I didn't hear at the last meeting or thought I heard that were concerns, we can add them to this for discussion purposes. So I thought I would have that out there as the initial discussion topics, talking points.
I think the easy one right off the bat would be the number 3. I mean, if he's already been mowing and maintaining that lawn area, then I see no reason to put a restriction or change it if the new owner wishes to keep doing that. So that one should be not a problem to have to deal with. And I mean, John, if the new owner is going to use it for quote unquote a storage yard and isn't planning on paving it or doing any alterations, then the stormwater management controls, I'm thinking, would be kind of a minor project to have those installed or put in.
Yeah, so let's just say it was gravel, and as long as it's graded away from the no-touch buffer that we finally agree upon and away from the wetlands and allowed to accumulate in a designated area within the site, then I think that handles that kind of a concern. So it doesn't have to be at this point without paving a formal system. It just needs to be spelled out how it's going to go and maintained that way.
Is the site going to be sold, or?
I believe Mr. Snell is attending the meeting. He can speak for him, but at the last meeting, he did mention that that he has a prospective buyer who's going to operate a landscaping type business at that location.
I need to make a correction. Can I make a presentation?
Yes.
That's it, Mr. Snell.
Okay. After talking with John this morning, I went and actually met a proposed buyer. I can't say that he's a buyer because we have not signed any papers yet. And I get learn more about his business, and he's more into the utility type work. He's not a landscaper where he's going to have any chemicals or fertilizers or any of that in the area. And he right now doesn't plan to build a building, but I made I made him understand that if he did a building, he's got to make protection of all runoff oils and that's all written by state regulations, and he's going to follow it. And he's they're in an operation now in Stoughton, and they have a pretty clean yard. They're a very successful pair of brothers, and I have confidence that I think that they'll be an asset to the area, not detrimental in any way. Like I said to myself, you have got to give extreme protection and consideration of any of the wetlands. And he says, we're doing that now. He says, it's our business. We deal with it every day. So I think you have somebody that is reliable and will work with the board when the time comes. All right. But I don't think he's planning to build right away. It's a big move for him, and they want to, obviously I've got a lot of cleaning up there to do myself, and we're going to work together on it. That's what I'm looking to do. So I would like to support a board to be able to continue using the areas that we have been using. And as John has pointed out, the grade actually almost drops off at the vegetation line, and actually drops off before that in places, which is good. And there won't be a case where you're backing any of the trucks into the woods. When I started, I had the trailers, and they were dry storage trailers, had nothing in them. They didn't actually have any oil dripping from them, and not trying to put them there anyway. But we did ease them in places, but that's not going to happen anymore. They understand that, and that's what we're aiming for. So, but I did want you to know that there is not a definite buyer yet, but it looks like it's going to go that way.
So when that time comes, we'll just handle it when that time comes then, right?
What was that?
Well,
So when that time comes, we'll handle it with the
development part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and all this with the building. If they're going to do a building, they'll just have to come in front of us anyway.
When that time comes, but what I'm trying to do is to settle the usable line up to I want to continue using the area I've been using for 40 years, and I want to sell it that way. And that's one reason I want to, I am actually hoping buying with the land and giving you a conservation area. And I want to point out that the conservation area that we're talking about in the recreation area, the land that, as that river goes down, it goes into state property, which the state's never going to buy it from. And then it goes into property that I sold the 11 acres in the woods, and that's a little swimming area. And it's a very unusual area because it's the only place in the Hockomock River that isn't a muck bottom. It's a sandy bottom, and it has freshwater mussels growing there. It has fish at times. And there's a lot of science to be studied in that whole area. And if you go up there right now, as John did, you'll see how the beaver dams have flooded the area that I used to use as a swimming area in the summer. It's the only place you can go swimming in West Bridgewater. And now the beavers have flooded it. They're killing the whole forest, beautiful oak trees. And they're all dying. They're hanging there dead. It's going to be a barren land if we don't relocate beavers in that area. So, and in the summer, you'll find that the water level will go down in that swimming area. It'll go down to where it's only about a foot deep. Right now, it's 4 to 5 feet deep, but it goes off into an area that is probably 7 or 8 feet in the bend of the river. So it makes a swimming area. And it's a sandy bottom, and you want people to be able to use that. So, the area that I sold is for conservation nitrogen loading for project in Easton. And I don't see that there's going to be any problem getting permission for people to use that also. So, but that's time down the road. But I think pretty much you'll have free run on that river to Route 106. And then, of course, it becomes the Hockomock. And so that's all I got to say right now.
If I might add, any use on that land is probably going to have to go through the water protection hearings because it's in the aquifer for the well. So if there were any restrictions that would be imposed, that approving authority, which is I think the planning board, would be concerned about the activities there and put conditions of approval as we would. So I think there you'd have two different regulatory groups looking at any proposal that comes forward. But as Mr. Snell mentions, his purpose for contacting us is to try to solidify what can be used in the future. Can he continue? Can he or the new owner continue using what he's been using for 40 years? And if so, he's interested in, because of granting that kind of a waiver, he would be interested in donating that land behind that property, which has riverfront and real ample parking. I think we went over that at the last meeting. So I think it's a good proposal.
But realistically, we've answered and taken care of 5 and 6 because it's not going to be a landscaping operation at this point.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it would really just be 1 and 2. And 2, I think we're all set with. And it's just what we would refer to as the visual barrier or fence or marking or more permanent structure for the potential new owner to be aware of and know where their limitation was.
So I would recommend what we did for a market basket at the back of their property with signs.
Yeah, I mean, that worked. I mean, the
They- yeah,
fence
they-
went up and, yeah.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So at this point, I would say that we're endorsing your continued usage with just a few minor little restrictions put there, and I think we can move forward on it.
So if I'm understanding it correctly, the restrictions would be imposed upon the new owner to put up that barrier. So
I would
let me
say that.
let me rephrase this. So I think at this point, Mr. Snell would have Mr. Klenner create a plan that would show that limit, because we really don't have a good handle where it is other than from the aerial photos. And so he would create a plot plan that would show that limit of use currently. And then the commission would agree upon it. And if it was good for Mr. Snell and good for the commission, then we could go forward.
And then say, so-called the new owners would put up the fence and all that stuff then, right?
Along that line that Mr. Klenner and Mr. Snell and the commission all agree upon.
Okay.
I want to ask a question.
Yep.
I can, okay. I'm not opposed to marking and defining the actual usable mark. We won't call it the vegetation mark because it may not be back to that point, but I request that we mark it with the posting and not a fence. You got 2,000 feet of fence and nobody's gonna go over the rule. We don't need a fence for that, all right? It'll be marked out, and that's what I request to that in the whole operation, please.
Posting with the signs on it then.
I'm sorry?
Posting with the signs on it
Well,
saying,
the posts that you just used down to Lucini's project on Ames Way, those, I believe they were
Yep.
great posts, are they, John?
Yeah, the PVC post.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And I would agree to that, and I want that to be marked out that way. You would mark it, so it would be identifiable.
And they would be shown on a plot plan by Mr. Klenner. How's
Yes,
that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. That could work. And then in the future, 2 years, 20 years, whenever, if they were to develop it and want to pave it or do something different, then we could discuss what they might need to do for any more protection or stormwater and all of that,
yes,
if they were to.
but
Go
the
further.
agreeable line
Yep.
would,
Yep.
the agreeable line
Right,
would
the
be
mark.
staying, and that's what the whole project that we're putting together And that's what I'm
Yep.
requesting, and I appreciate the support. That's what I'm asking. But every rule and regulation is going to have to be followed. You got the planning board, you've got the conservation, you've got the state, you've got the
Yep.
West Bridgewater Water Department, and the fire department, and the police department. They all got to sign off. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is the very initial stages.
Yep.
Of putting I don't want to sell a gentleman a piece of land and then find out what he can do with it later. So we're trying to get them black and white. And so I think this is the fairest way to do it. I won't sign any papers or anything until we all agree. And I don't want any confrontation with anybody. I don't want it with the board, and I don't want it with the buyer or people. So we're trying to keep it running smooth.
So do we wait until the trailers are pulled back, Ron, so that we can look at that line and Mr. Klenner can look at that line as well?
Yeah, what trailers are they? There's one right in the corner that's hanging in the corner. I'll get those out of there. I know what you mean, yeah.
Okay.
It's actually.
So we can bring this discussion up a little bit later when some of the storage units are moved and Mr. Klenner has a chance to give us a copy of a plot plan showing it.
That'll work.
But from what I'm gathering, it's a consensus of the commission that we could move forward with this whole idea of accepting his current usage.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
So that should give you some confidence, Ron, in what you want to tell the prospective new buyers.
Okay. I think I'm not gonna do anything with the buyer until I've got the line agreed on. I want Dave to do a plan, and
once he gets a plan and gets,
we all know exactly what it is. It's on paper, okay? And
that sounds good.
Yeah, that's the fairest way to do it. I would like to be able to make the move right now and sell it and put the money in my pocket and run away, but that's not the way it's going to happen. We're going to do step by step, and I think this is the very initial stages of the future use of this property, and that's why come to conservation for us. So.
Well, perfect. So now that the snow's gone and the ground's getting better, he can get out there and get his lines put down on paper and be ready to go.
Yeah. So. And spring's coming too. We're not heading into the winter.
Sounds good
You
to
wouldn't
me.
know it this morning.
Yeah, I know.
Alrighty, very good.
Thanks for your
Thank you.
consideration and support. All right.
Thank you.
All right, John, I'll get you that plan.
And John, we have,
What was that, David?
I'll get you that plan soon, probably within the middle of next week sometime.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Hey guys, have a good night. Huh?
you too.
You
Thank
too.
Thank you.
Okay, John, we have 1 Ames Drive, a minor project change.
I'll call up the drawing. All right, can everybody see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So we had approved a plan that was dated June 4th, 2020 as a minor project change. And in discussions with the site contractor, I've discovered that there was a more recent plan, 6/23/2020, which is not the plan we approved. So I asked them to request a minor project change and explain why. And so Mr. Will Lucini, the son, explained that they went from a 3-bedroom house to a 4-bedroom house and needed a bigger septic tank. And they didn't change the footprint of the house, they just changed the number of bedrooms. And so the plan had to, because it's different than what we approved and approved as a minor project change, has to be approved again. But I also discovered that they had proposed overhead wires to the house, and National Grid is reluctant to do overhead wires underneath their utility easement, which runs from, can you see my cursor all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Runs from here to here. And so they're going underground, which I have another drawing that shows that, and I'll call that one up.
I'm very familiar with National Grid and their requirement for underground utilities within their easements.
I bet you are.
Mine are encased in concrete to go the whole entire distance.
I'm
under
pretty
their
sure this is
easement.
going to have to be the same thing.
My choices were concrete or steel pipe. And the concrete was a hell of a lot cheaper than going 1,000 feet of steel. And to be honest with you, I like the look of underground anyways. Seeing those big poles out there ruins the view.
So here's the drawing. I'm pretty sure you can all see it. So this is by National Grid. So there's a pole here. They're going to go underground to a pad, and then from the pad, the electrician will run underground to the house. So that's a change as well. And National Grid has to know that the commission's okay with it before they'll do it for them. And so my recommendation is that if the commission agrees, we issue a minor project change for the June 23rd revision for the larger septic tank, and also include the National Grid plan that is September 21st, 2020, and use those two as references for a minor project change.
What happens if we didn't agree on the underground? What would happen? Would they not be able to do the project? Would they not be able to get the house?
It'd probably be appealed and we'd go to court.
Now my question, John,
Not
is
like we got much choice.
Yeah, go ahead.
National Grid hasn't put the utility hookup in yet?
No,
Really? Wow. I can't believe that's not happened yet. I mean, the house is almost fully done. That's a lot of generators.
I'm going to stop sharing this for a second because I want to bring something up with that other drawing, which I noticed today as I went by it today. All right, so here's the area that I'm concerned about. This is the property line. yet the plan showing grading going over into this abutter's property with the driveway going over into the abutter's driveway. So I have no issue with that, except for the commission can't approve work on somebody else's land without them being party to the permit. So I want to look into what this is here before we approve a minor project change.
What's that other person's property there? Is it just woodland?
There's a
area?
beautiful hayfield over here
Oh,
and some woods in here, and
and
probably the
they-
best way to describe it is I believe it's owned by somebody who sells turkey sandwiches.
and they don't.
It
they don't know-
probably hasn't granted an easement for the driveway to be on their property, I'm thinking.
Yeah,
How can
we've
they
got to, we've got to have something in writing to indicate that the owner of that property is aware of it and has either sold it or granted the easement, as you mentioned. And I have nothing to show for that. Typically, an engineer would draw a plan showing the easement around the filling, around the edge of the driveway.
Yep.
But this plan shows nothing of that. Now, I do say that without looking at every plan. So let's look at the next one. No. This is the detailed plan. This is a detailed plan. So none of those site plans appeared to show any easement there. So we really have to be
Yeah.
careful. Oh, wait a minute, what's this down here? Aha,
With the little bump out,
there's a little bump out.
but what's that referred to?
Okay, so here's a 50-foot here. And it doesn't show up there, so.
Do they
Yeah.
hope to have maybe in the future?
So we've got to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
But if we do get to the bottom of it and have a legal document, I would recommend issuing the minor project change, contingent on finding out about that.
Well, at this point, you want to just hold off on doing anything till our next meeting and hopefully
Sure.
get an answer by then? I mean, waiting 2 more weeks for National Grid to schedule the underground hookup. I mean, it's going to take them months the way National Grid moves to get the hookup done anyways, so.
Okay.
2 weeks. We'll continue the Ames Drive until we get a clarification.
Wouldn't the builder even, I mean, whoever's doing the house, wouldn't they even, how would they even think about even keep going with the house and not even, that could be a potential catastrophe for them if they can't use that property. I mean, geez, that's the driveway and stuff like that. I mean,
If I remember right, John, wasn't there a stone wall right along that whole entire property line?
Yeah, so while I was walking the site, I'm seeing the stone wall and all of a sudden it ends because it's filled over. And then it picks up on the other side. So I go, oh, something's up here, and that's what made me look.
Yep.
My guess is, again, that since that sheet that I showed the bump out on is shown that way, it's either intended to square this away or it has been, but we have nothing to show for it. So we've got to get to the bottom of it. So.
Yeah, there's
I'm
got to be a reference on the plan or something that there's a deed or an easement recorded somewhere.
Yeah.
Adding to the property size that we originally approved.
So I agree. Was it Lee that you said, wouldn't they want to know that it's all right before they did it?
yeah.
Yeah, so they probably have. I mean, I know they're sharp people, so they wouldn't do it, but we can't just go on the assumption. We have to have that document.
I'm not gonna agree to nothing until that's done.
Okay,
All right, John,
Next meeting?
164 Lincoln Street. Yeah, next meeting, we'll just,
okay, all right. Let me stop sharing this. Well, I'll try to talk while I'm trying to do
Okay.
something. That might be difficult, but let me give it a shot. We had held up on 164 Lincoln Street. We issued a certificate of compliance, but we held, I think it was $3,500 surety, because we had an as-built, but it did not show any of the conservation markers around the project, because they weren't in at the time that the engineer went out to do his as-built. When I went out to do the conservation, the certificate of compliance inspection, the signs were in, but they weren't on the as-built. So we held money for it, and about a year ago, and now it's finally completed with an as-built showing all of the conservation wetland signs. So I'm recommending release of that surety back to the developer, and the homeowner current landowner is aware of that. I spoke with her today, and so they have no issue with that. So my recommendation is
Okay.
release the surety.
I'll entertain a motion to release the surety for 164 Lincoln Street.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
All right. We have a invoice, which I don't have up on the screen, but it's for about $120 for the service contract for the copy machine. And it's the same amount. Maybe it's 113. I'm sorry, I don't have the number, but it's the same number that we had last year for the year's service contract on the office copy machine. So I'm recommending approval of it. I apologize, I don't have the number, but it's the same as last year. So if you want to make the motion to authorize Tim to sign the warrant for the same amount as we did last year, that probably would work.
I'll make that motion.
No second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
And last but not least, we have a gentleman who wanted to test fire his model rocket. It's not anything huge, it's just a model rocket on the conservation land down off of South Elm Street, way out behind the Chris Yanatelli's house. It would be out in the open area and with all kinds of restrictions, like he's got to mow an area where he wants to launch it from, and have adequate fire extinguishers there in case something happened. But he says it's just one of those model rockets. The only difference with this one is that it has not only a takeoff, but it has a return to takeoff option, so that it will come right back after it's the rocket part will come back to the launch site, sort of like what's happening now with the space.
I was just going to say, does this have SpaceX going up the side of it, John?
Yeah, it probably does. So he wants to be able to test it to see if it really does come back. And I put together a whole list of requirements that the Board of Selectmen wanted to know about, and he's answered those. But I'm asking the commission to see, since you control the land out there, whether you have any issue with it. And the Board of Selectmen are going to have to hear it at their next meeting as well. But I just wanted to know whether you had any concerns.
Can we get that spy satellite put up there at the same time?
The one that we use for encroachments in conservation easement?
Yes, that's the one I was thinking about.
Yeah, we'd have 24/7 surveillance, wouldn't we?
Maybe we can just take a couple of quick snapshot shots up there while he's up and around the area. If it's gonna come back, hopefully it'll come back to us.
I don't have any problem, John, with this kind of thing being done.
We'll have a little bit more detail when it finally needs to be signed, the agreement to let him do it. But I figured if you, as a commission, didn't want him doing it at all, we'd just stop it at this point. But the Board of Selectmen were first contacted by this gentleman, young guy, 18 years old. Sounds like he's a real scientist in that he really is into this type of thing and just needs a spot to be able to safely set it off and have it come back.
There's plenty of other space around. It's just funny how it would be. Why would you have to deal with clearing a spot, especially out there? It's kind of all congested with stuff. I mean, be willing to have them even go out behind the house here.
I could offer that to him, but
no, I mean, that's fine. Just leave the way it is. But it's kind of funny how he have to.
I think what it is, as John said, whatever he has for fuel to get this thing off, if there was an accident, you don't want it out in a hay field or a pasture area because it may or may not contaminate the soil. And I'm sure if it doesn't come back to land right where it's supposed to, you need a pretty good radius for it to land without hitting a house or somebody's property. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
that's why he looked at this and said, "The big old open field with nothing there."
Hopefully it'll go all right.
So this is something he just wants to do at once, not like do over and over again. It's just like a test run or something.
so he has sometime in April, he wants to test it, and then he has a rain date. So it sounds like we're only talking about two times.
Oh, okay.
If the commission wants to know a little bit more, if in the future, if he wants to come back, I can find that out.
I mean, at this point, it looks like it's a one-shot deal with a rain date if it doesn't go the first time. And if he needs to do it again, then he just have to ask us again. And
So let's say that he tests it and it's successful and it takes off and comes back within, let's say 10 feet of the launch. Then he might feel better going to the parking lot by the gazebo and testing it there where he knows it'll come right back and he hasn't got any concern. But I think he's just wants to make sure that that it's going to work. And so by having a big area, he should be able to test it and find out if he's got some confidence in it. But we may even want him to speak at one of our upcoming meetings. I know we don't have too many left before April, but if the selectmen decide that they are agreeable to it, and that you are, then I think maybe we can just have the guy talk to us at the first April meeting.
Yeah, that sounds good, John.
okay. I mean, worst case, yeah, Chris has a swimming pool, I think. So I think there's a pretty good splash pad if he needs it.
Yeah.
Sure, Chris wouldn't mind having a rocket landing in his backyard.
That's why it actually, I drew up a map using aerial photo, and I gave him a circle that's out way beyond the back line of Chris's neighbor, which goes way back, way beyond Chris. And so it's probably about 300 to 400 feet out. So that ought to give him plenty of room.
Yep.
The old ones used to have parachutes. They could like drift and drift. And lucky
Right.
again.
Ryan, that's back in the 80s.
And, and then if you didn't pack the parachute right, forget it.
Anything else, John?
That's it.
Well, I was guessing we were gonna be done about 7:45, so we weren't too far off. Not a record short one, but not too bad, considering we had 3 new public hearings. At that point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
I didn't get the second, by the way.
Ryan.
Ryan.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Thank you, gentlemen. See you in 2 weeks.
Have a good night.
Have a good
Yeah.
night.